Dr. Khuram, floor is yours.
Thank you, Rana Javed, DG Pakistan House. I'm thankful that I did not have to self-invite myself to this forum. I would like to expand on what Professor Jaspal had just said, that Quad is not may not certainly evolve into a security alliance in a formal and traditional sense. And we should avoid the temptation to consider it as a given that the Quad would certainly evolve into a security alliance. I would offer a different set of reasons to expand on Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal's core argument. And there are 5 factors, I believe, which would inhibit Quad's evolution or transformation into a military alliance. Firstly, America's inability to offer a viable economic and military alternative to Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, number 1. Number 2, American unwillingness or inability to give a preferential treatment to India on key strategic and trade issues. Number 3, erosion of democracy in India, which was of course a cornerstone of Quad when it was formed in 2007. And fourthly, the remnants of non-aligned movement in India and Japan's Pacific constitution that was in place after the Second World War. And fifth factor that could possibly hinder Quad's transformation into a military alliance is the economic interdependence between China and the 4 members of Quad. Let me expand on these 5 factors one by one. Firstly, American inability to offer a viable alternative. Well, I would disagree with Dr. Pentoshi, Dr. Rafaelo, my colleague from Singapore, that there is no arms twisting from United States of America on the issue of Quad, or perhaps the middle and smaller powers are not being forced by America to take sides. There are certainly efforts by United States of America, consciously, unconsciously, to push the middle and smaller powers to take sides. And to understand that clearly, one could just look at the shuttle diplomacy of Mike Pompeo during the last days of President Trump's presidency, the way he toured different countries in Central and South Asia, adopting a very confrontational language and rhetoric to convey one message loud and clear to his hosts, that either you are with us or against us. Although rhetorically, Mike Pompeo conveyed that message loud and clearly, but when confronted with the questions of what are the alternatives to China's Belt and Road initiatives, unfortunately, United States of America does not go beyond rhetoric. We have seen what has happened to the proposal of Trans-Pacific Partnership put forth by President Obama, and how ruthlessly it was scuttled by Donald Trump, because of course there was a rise of ultranationalism in India, and for him it was more important to fix American economy than to perform its global responsibilities. The second factor that could inhibit Quad's transformation into a military alliance is American unwillingness to give India preferential treatment on key issues. For instance, we have seen Donald Trump's America treating India the same way it has treated China, imposing high tariffs on Indian products, and of course to manage the currency. And of course, there was no different treatment. And then in April, perhaps last month, freedom of navigation operations by the United States without seeking consent from India has irked number of strategic thinkers and policymakers in India, whether America is actually a reliable patron or not. Similar unease was witnessed in India when American basically refused to share the vaccines in the formative phases of the pandemic, of the second wave of the pandemic in India. So this is one factor which is, of course, is in the consideration of Indian strategic community, and they would certainly consider playing the American games, towing the American lines without questioning it. And then the third factor that I would like to mention here is erosion of democracy in India. Like I said, democracy was a cornerstone of formation of Quad. It was projected as a democratic alliance against non-traditional security threats, with the key points mentioned by Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal. But democracy, at least among the two member states of Quad, has eroded significantly during last 10 years, especially India. If you look at a recent report by Freedom House, it has reduced Indian ranking from a free to partially free country. And that report, which was issued in 2021, notes that instead, or rather than serving as a counterweight to an authoritarian China, India itself, under Modi and BJP, it's on the course of being an authoritarian country. So when India moves into an authoritarian direction, it will be a hard sell for the Americans to project India as a democratic ally against an authoritarian China. Similarly, when the United States of America and its Western partners, they seek to demonize China on supposed human rights violations in Xinjiang, in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, they cannot afford to look away when India commits gross human rights violations in Kashmir. So when America is forced to basically balance between these two paradoxes, certainly it would force Indians to have their options available other than the United States of America. And then, of course, the fourth element is the remnants of non-aligned movement and the pacifist constitution in Japan. Well, one could argue that this non-aligned movement or that non-aligned alignment is a thing of past in India. But if you look at the strategic culture, one trait that is embedded through decades of conscious and unconscious efforts, it's hard to remove that with one stroke of a pen. I would say that this non-alignment is pretty much woven in Indian social fabric, and despite a saffronization of Indian security apparatus, where ultra-nationalist Hindu individuals are taking over the secular-minded strategists in India, the social reaction on any attempt from India to be a part of security or military alliance would be quite significant. And the fifth element that I would like to mention here is the economic interdependence between China and 4 members of the Quad. As the 4 members of Quad, with the exception of Japan, as their economies slow down because of the devastations unleashed by COVID-19, Chinese economy, it's gradually it's pacing up, it's gradually recovering. As Chinese economy recovers, it becomes stronger. I think Beijing would have a stronger bargaining position, Beijing would have a stronger bargaining position vis-a-vis these 4 members of the Quad. And specifically talking about Australia and India, Australia, and if you look at the economic interdependence between Australia and China, China is the largest trading partner for both Australia and India. And if you look at the budget of Australian budget for 2021, we don't see any significant movement or direction by Australia to diversify its economy. So if Australia has to rely on China economically, there is a limit to its cooperation with the United States of America on the issue of Quad, and same goes for India. which is one of the hardest hit countries by COVID-19, where the death toll is second only to United States of America. And of course, when India recovers, we wish them a fast recovery. And when it starts basically restoring its economy, it will have to look towards China. And that interdependence can lead to a reset between China and India, where China can convince India to stop playing as a pawn of American grand chess in South Asia, and to at least act neutrally when it comes to major global power competition between China and United States of America. So to conclude, I would say that although Quad as an informal platform has made tremendous achievements on political, economic, and military fronts, we have seen it expanding from Quad to Quad Plus. We have seen it how a ministerial level dialogue forum has evolved into a summit level platform. Then we have seen efforts to boost interoperability between the member states in form of India-Japan Military Logistics Pact, in form of basic exchange cooperation agreement between India and America, and then the upgradation of ties between India and Australia as comprehensive strategic ties. Certainly they have made certain progresses, but the possibility that Quad would certainly emerge as a military alliance, I think that remains to be seen. Finally, how Pakistan can respond to Quad. I would perfectly agree with Professor Rafaelo that we have to avoid going into a situation where we end up locking ourselves with our limited economic and military capacity. And again, what Mr. Atar Javed has said, that when it comes to Quad, other than India, excluding India with the 3 member states, we have certainly evolved some sort of economic or strategic convergence. We have seen United States of America accommodating Pakistan's genuine concerns in Afghanistan. And then we have seen how Australia and Japan have basically forged stronger economic ties with Pakistan and vice versa. It's only India, of course, with whom we have problems. And I can say as a student of strategic studies, international relations, that if United States of America wishes to make India as a regional policeman through Quad, this is something which Pakistan has not accepted, nor Pakistan will accept India as the regional policeman. I thank you very much.